Over the last 2 decades, as spring turns to summer, thousands have gathered on the streets of Boulder to celebrate the spirit of community.
The platform that's the Boulder Boulder, the awe and the wonder, just the magic. That this is where they want to be on Memorial Day, and that this has become a tradition in the community of Boulder, but also with their family.
You ready to walk the rest of the way? Sure. Let's do it.
The spirit of individual triumphs.
Come on, boy.
We hear frequently from people about how we're impacting lives, personal lives, being an event that says, I didn't think I can do this. Well, yes, you can. And this year, a slight variation on that is, oh yes, I will.
And most importantly, to celebrate and honor the true spirit of Memorial Day.
Thank you for coming together this Memorial Day to honor the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation.
It's a connecting point, a reminder to people, just the commitment that these men and women are making to our communities and to the country.
We so appreciate you getting up early and being with us for the 41st running of the Boulder Boulder.
Excitement is in the air at the start line of the 41st Boulder Boulder.
How we doing?
What started out as a small community run in Boulder, Colorado in 1979 has turned into an event of epic proportions.
Here we go. Have a good time.
This is where they want to be on Memorial Day. Put us on the calendar. This has become a tradition in the community of Boulder, but also with their family.
You've got little kids on the start line. You're very anxious.
Multiple generations are connected back to the race. Their roots are here, and that's part of that tradition. It's awesome. And we hear a lot about how the race brings the community together.
Here we go. She's ready.
When we hear the stories of how we're impacting or affecting lives, and whether that's starting a program, finishing a program, doing this with my neighbor, I'm running a PR, from the beginning the why is, oh yes, you can. And this year, a slight variation on that is, oh yes, I will. And seeing those transitions and maybe even for some folks transformations, and I wasn't sure I did that. The platform that's the Boulder Boulder, the awe and the wonder, just the magic is a part of the day.
I grew up in a military family, and I am just honored to be a part of something like this.
To honor those that have served our country and gave us this wonderful freedom that we have.
There's people that put their lives on the line for all of us, so to memorialize them in such a way like this, from the amazing people that are just outside screaming and volunteers, and just the people that are running for such a great cause, I think this race is awesome.
Even just the recognition, you see these men and women running in formation as one. In another way, it's a connecting point and just a reminder to people, just the commitment that these men and women are making to our communities and to the country.
So this ROTC unit as a whole, it's a lot of different people from different places, different ages. We have some active duty Marines as well as midshipmen that are here.
We're all on a mission to commission, so we're all working together and making the transition from civilian life to that of military.
We'll be wearing the physical training shirt like this one, and then our cami bottoms as well with boots. We'll be doing it in formation. There'll be a few midshipmen as well as active duty Marines and staff there that'll be running it with us. This unit as a whole has been doing the Boulder Boulder for just over 25 years now, one capacity or another running it. The reason our unit does this every year is it's a good opportunity for us to memorialize the people that have came before us. Some of those guys have given everything for this country.
Down. Down.
It symbolizes the service for those of us that are serving right now overseas, and I think it represents a struggle and the duty that they've carried out, and all about being a part of something so much bigger than you could be by yourself.
Every week they do this. They get up, we come together, we get a little bit of camaraderie going with these events, the PT events. So for us to kind of be out and show the community that, hey, there is a presence here. For us, any kind of event like this, it's always you start together, you end together. So being able to bring all those Marines, all those midshipmen, and all the active duty staff with us as well across that finish line together, it's kind of a symbol of the way that we always do business.
Tradition plays a huge role in the military, and this is just another tradition that we're going to keep going. Boulder Boulder isn't just a race. It happens to be the largest gathering on Memorial Day in the entire country. So the fact that we can unite Boulder and the community, the school, and bring together Memorial Day makes it so much more than just a race.
Coming up, it's a very special finish for one family.
I'm not a real emotional guy, but that's why I got my sunglasses on, because there were tears falling down my cheeks.
Altitude's coverage of the 41st Boulder Boulder is brought to you by King Soopers, helping to lead the charge against hunger in the community. By First Bank, with over $65 million donated and thousands of hours volunteered to local charities in Colorado, Arizona, and California since 2000, First Bank is banking for good. And by Survey Gizmo, smarter, faster, affordable. SurveyGizmo.com. There is nothing quite like crossing the finish line at Folsom Field in front of a cheering crowd. As the voice of the CU Buffs, Mark Johnson has seen many big moments inside this stadium, but today, at the finish line of the 41st Boulder Boulder, there will be a big moment of a different kind for this father.
Hand off to Lindsay, left side, he's got a big hole. He takes the defender, and he pushes him right into the end zone. Touchdown!
You know, the world of athletics is about exceeding expectation. It's about overcoming obstacles. It's about doing the unexpected. Do you believe in miracles? We know all the great lines that have come out of the world of sports. But at the end of the day, it's just fun and games. So we had the experience that everybody does. You know, we have our oldest young boy. Our daughter comes around, everything's perfect, and you just expect that to continue. That's what happens, right? That's what life is supposed to be. So Jake's born, and everything seems normal like the other two. We come flying through the door, me and my two little ones at this point in time, and immediately the severity of what's happening is hitting me. There's a doctor sitting there, and all of a sudden they're telling us that there's something wrong. I'm a young man in my 20s, and I'm thinking, what is going on? This isn't supposed to be happening.
When he was born, they told us he wouldn't survive the night. And then it wasn't, well, he won't survive the day. When Jacob was born, he was malpositioned. So he had 4 hemorrhages in his brain, and 2 of them were very large, ones that you're not supposed to survive from. He developed hydrocephalus, cerebral palsy, cortical visual impairment, and pervasive development disorder. Those are the big 5 that I can't, but we could probably come up with 50 diagnoses if we wanted to. And I just like, nah, let's leave it with the big 5. And from there on, it was just this adventure. What is life going to be like with Jake? And I've always believed that love can overcome a lot of things. Jake does get to do so many wonderful things. And this is one thing that we can do to add to his experiences and get him involved.
We were at an event at one point in time, and Steve and Cliff were there, and she went running over and said, I want Jake to run the Boulder Boulder. And, being the man that Steve and Cliff are, they thought it was fantastic. A special needs child, sometimes their world shrinks. She was adamant about that was not going to happen to Jacob. The Boulder Boulder, all the pageantry and the celebrations and the slip and slides, and then running into Folsom Field with 50,000 people and all the activity and the pageantry and the flags and the bands and everything else. That's Jacob's deal, man, because he's the biggest party animal you're ever going to meet.
Jacob's walker will be close to the finish line. I bet we'll hear, Jacob is happy. He says that a lot. Jacob is happy. And I bet he'll scream that as he's crossing the finish line. I just love him so much. And I want him to have as full a life as possible. And I want not only for him to celebrate life, but for people to be exposed to what people with disabilities can do. And they should be celebrated as well. And Jake gets to have a little bit of that.
You gonna have fun? Ready to run the race?
Jacob has overcome obstacles. He's overcome life and death. He has overcome all of those things to, I think, exhibit real victory. The finest athletes in the world will run across at one point in time. And at one point, Jacob Neal Johnson is going to walk across that line as well. And there's something perfect about that.
How fun was that? You ready to walk the rest of the way? Sure. Let's do it. Come on, boy.
To have him have a little moment of standing out amongst 50,000 people is really special.
I'm not a real emotional guy, but that's why I got my sunglasses on, because there were tears falling down my cheeks as I walked across that finish line. We've seen a number of folks in wheelchairs that have similar situations to Jake, and so I think the fact that the spotlight can be shown on people like that with special people out there as well, I think that's a big deal about what this is all about.
It was so much fun, wasn't it?
You have a good time?
Yeah.
Up next, highlights and results from the International Team Challenge.
Unbelievable. What a run.
Since 1998, the Boulder Boulders International Team Challenge has celebrated the spirit of competition by attracting the fastest men and women from around the globe. Let's take a look back at the highlights from this year's Boulder Boulder International Team Challenge, starting with the women's race.
We have a shot here of the women at the start. Give me some of your thoughts as they're preparing for the start of this race.
Well, I think Ivy Cabet and Grace Kohura, Stephanie Bruce from the United States, Alafine Tillamook, who is a naturalized American citizen as well, and they're off.
That lead pack has now been whittled down to 5 runners. Looks like 3 Ethiopians, 1 Kenyan, and Tillamook from the United States, who's still hanging tough right in the middle of that pack.
And she's running very smart. If you're going to draft in a pack of 4, you want to be right where she is. You can kind of relax and fall into the rhythm of the person ahead of you. So she's running a very smart race at this point.
And here we go with Alfine making the break down that hill, coming past the 4-mile mark.
And she's going for it. This is the break. This is the surge in the race. She's going to hold this for as long as she feels that she can slow down just a little bit and recover. Here we go.
And that's Ymir from Ethiopia, who has decided that she's going to press from home a little bit longer, and we'll see how Alafine Tillamook responds to this move.
So now they're going all out. It's just a question of who can gap whom or who can close the gap.
Correct. Our winner of this year's 2019 Boulder Boulder Women's Professional Race, Hiwat Ymir from Ethiopia. That was Meseret Tola in second, and Alfine Tillamook from the United States in third place.
Well, we tried our best today, and I think that's what matters. Like, if you give it everything you have, that's what matters. Winning can be interpreted in different ways. And today, for me, I feel like that was a win.
The Ethiopian women won the International Team Challenge for the 13th time. Their 16-point lead over second-place USA Red was the second largest in team competition history.
On the men's side, we have some really standout individuals that are coming back from last year.
This is going to be quite a race. They're taking off very, very hard.
And those are our 2 favorites right from the get-go. Bernard Neno, and from Tanzania, that's Gabriel Gay, who finished second here a year ago and won this race in 2017.
This could be a 2-man race right from the start. They're not testing the other people. They're running against each other right now. It's just 2 men paying attention to each other, and that's it.
We got the first mile split here for the men, and they are certainly not messing around. They went through the mile in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. That's well below any year we've seen in the last decade.
Oh, this is a real surge. Now it's just a question of, did he go too fast, too soon? He's a bit past 2 miles. He's entered the North Boulder neighborhood. And here he has an advantage because look behind, you don't see anyone. And he is almost at the point of being what I call out of sight, out of mind.
They, at this point, are not really trying to catch him. They're just trying to fight for second place.
Yeah, they're running for place now.
There's a shot of your leader, Bernard Nano from Kenya. He's on Folsom. He's a few minutes away from entering the stadium.
Very good running. So he'll run about 70 seconds or better for the last quarter of a mile, which means he's going to run under 28:20.
Your 2019 Boulder Boulder Elite Men's Champion, Bernard Nano.
Unbelievable. What a run. First USA, Reed Buchanan.
So I ran the majority of that by myself, and I said just keep pressing. The stadium, amazing. Like I was suffering up that hill, and then once I got in here, it was like I could go another 2K, you know? So I loved it.
With 20 points, the Ethiopian men completed the sweep of the International Team Challenge. USA Red rounded out the top 5 with 33 points. Coming up, a moving tribute to our fallen servicemen and women.
Today, we remember the service members we have lost in the defense of our nation.
With the racing complete, the crowd inside Folsom Field pauses to remember the true meaning of Memorial Day.
Memorial Day has the high point for me, and the takeaway has always been just the opportunity to honor the men and women that have served and given their life in service to the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming together this Memorial Day to honor the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. Freedom, we know, is never free. Today, we remember the service members we have lost in the defense of our nation.
We have 3 Gold Star families that have lost sons or daughters, family members that have a local connection, a Colorado connection, and may even have a connection back to the Boulder Boulder.
Christopher Doc Anderson grew up in Longmont, Colorado, and loved spending time outdoors and with his family. He knew from an early age he wanted to follow in his grandfather's and father's footsteps and join the Navy. He was a Navy corpsman who deployed with the 1st Battalion, 6th Marines in Ramadi, Iraq.
You know, he wanted to be a corpsman when he enlisted. You know, that was his thing, is he wanted to take care of people. He wanted to save lives. I mean, his mantra was, I'm gonna win the war one Band-Aid at a time.
Sergeant Edwards, he lost both legs at about the knee and most of his left hand. And the guy said that they were getting ready to call corpsman up, which was what they say when there's an emergency. And Christopher had already darted across the street and was there. And Sergeant Edwards was telling him, tell my wife I love her, tell my daughters that I love them. And Christopher's, saying, no, you're going to tell them yourself.
Just a few months after Doc Anderson saved Sergeant Edwards' life, Christopher was killed during a mortar attack on December 4th, 2006.
I got a phone call from my dad. And he's like, what happened? And he goes, I just need you to come home. And I asked him, is he alive or not? And he said, no. One of the conversations he said to my mom was, when I come home, we'll have a parade. Everybody's gonna be there. And loving her son the way she does, she's like, of course, of course there will be. And he got a parade when he came home.
That day at Arlington, there were a lot of folks there. That my family was there, my mother was there, and the big surprise was Sergeant Edwards being there. We didn't know he was going to be there. We didn't expect him to be there. Apparently there had been a discussion at the hospital. He said, I need to go to Doc Anderson's funeral. They said, you're not ready yet. And he explained to them, I'm not asking.
While Memorial Day for many is a once-a-year holiday, honoring those who have died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. It takes on an entirely different meaning for the Gold Star families.
I remember Christopher every day, you know, but it's, I just want people to know that there's a lot of people out there that are in our situation or potentially about to be, and how important it is for a community to come together and support each other.
I'm not the only person that has lost someone, and I'm not going to be the last person to lose someone. And as a community, we got to help each other. We got to come together. We got to take care of each other every day. Memorial Day is a great reminder on how we can help each other on our every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring the Anderson and Edwards families.
Being able to honor that service, that ultimate sacrifice. And so to continue to remember those stories and continue to remember those sacrifices in that service.
We'd like to thank the Gold Star families for joining us today and thank all Gold Star families for their sacrifice. Let us remember all those who lost their life in service to our country.
Really, if you think about it, the 19 to 22 minutes that the ceremony occupies in the morning is a pretty small portion of the morning, but might have the biggest impact of the day.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please look to the skies as we honor each branch of the United States Armed Forces.
And so when I see that or feel that, the skydivers, it's so amazing how majestic those flags are. And the service songs that get played, and not forgetting that it's not just the day for a barbecue, but the barbecue is a result of those who have died in service to the country. Maybe some of these things where multiple generations are connected back to the race. I think that they're looking at it in that way, and it's how can it endure, and wanting to see the tradition endure. And then, but also wanting to see the experience of the race stay relevant enough that people still want to come and do it and connect and be a part of it.